Growing calls for Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to keep Archie and Lily away from Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis at all costs. And what is interesting is that this is coming from Americans. So I'm going to show you why they make that claim in just one moment. Also coming up, Tina Brown, the highly respected royal author, of course, a former editor of Vanity Fair, once friends with Princess Diana, is revealing what Prince William's friends make of this whole debacle in terms of the royal visit. And it's damning for Prince Harry, who is increasingly unable to cope with the ongoing estrangement from his brother and sister-in-law. But first, I want to show you why Link Lauren, the royal YouTube sensation, brilliant American guy, I absolutely love his takes, believe that it would be a huge, huge mistake for William and Catherine to let Lily and Archie in, given the very weird way that they have been raised by Harry and Meghan in Montecito. Watch this.
Yes, it would be nice. I was saying it's nice for them to get to know each other. But it's been so long, and you don't know if Archie and Lily are civilized, right? They might eat with their toes and, pick things up with their feet. I don't know what's been going on because they've been living on the freaking compound like children of the corn, and like the hills have eyes, and we never hear from them. We don't know anything about Archie and Lilibet. Like, have they had their shots? That might be better that they hadn't. But what's going on? We don't know. You might not want your kids to play with them because they've been living on the compound. They might not be socialized. So I understand saying George, Charlotte, and Louis, they have busy schedules. Guess what? Our kids are real royalty and they have a lot going on this summer. They have better things to do than to hang out with your children. And if you wanted your kids to be friends with ours and with the cousins, you wouldn't have run off to the US and trashed our whole family.
Our royal mastermind, Prince Harry and Queen Camilla's biographer, Angela Levin, is with us. Angela, do you agree with Link Lauren that actually it would be a real risk for William and Catherine to allow Archie and Lily to come into their children's circle, given they are being so careful in terms of how the future king and his two younger siblings are raised?
Oh, it would be a disaster. I mean, you absolutely not. They know not to do that. Catherine would know not to do that, even though she's somebody from a family who want to forgive and get close together. But, as you say, you know nothing about the little ones. And they are very little. And so the Catherine, Charlotte would be sort of quite nice to them because she is a very nice girl, but I don't think the boys would be interested at all, and I don't think it's a good idea. I think in fact it's an absolute awful idea, really. You can't
and again, it's Harry and Meghan
the same way. They haven't been brought up the same way, and you can't have that. If you remember when Meghan went around to see the William and Catherine, and she turned up in torn trousers and all looked absolute mess. And Catherine was absolutely shocked. Now, in a way that you've got to say the children have got to be really properly dressed. Often they go off in their night. He goes off in her nighties, Lilibet does. And you don't know what the little boy is, what he can do, what he can play, what he can be. And, I think they're so isolated by anyone. They don't really know what a family is, that it's very, very difficult for them. They've only got their mother, grandmother, haven't they?
Well, exactly. And of course, you would hope that if they were so concerned about their children having connection with their grandparents and their auntie and uncle, you would hope, Angela, that they were also currently attempting to arrange meetings with Thomas Markle Sr., who has recently moved back to America after the amputation of his leg, and also Samantha Markle. But look, I want to tell you about Prince William's friends, because they have been speaking out to Tina Brown. Tina Brown's an interesting one because, of course, she was friends with Princess Diana. She's certainly a woke-topian American who, even though she's British, but she's based in America, and for a long time she was actually very much pro-Harry and Meghan. So that's just a little bit of background. She's now turned and described what's going on this week as the Sussex circus. asking, is there any plan, project, or engagement undertaken by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that doesn't boil over into chaos? Well, no, there's not. And I could have told you that a long time ago, Tina. But she writes of Harry as if he has learned nothing in the last 6 years of battling with RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee that decides which personages in public life receive an official taxpayer-funded security detail. Harry went off like an IED, where once again he was denied official police protection for the family, and as a source close to Harry briefed, the rug was pulled out from under their feet at the 11th hour. That was to the Guardian newspaper. What rug? The only rug under the Sussexes is a flying carpet on which the two of them circle the globe in a cloud of persistent delusion. Harry is apparently distraught at the development, which isn't a development at all, but the same stance RAVEC has taken for the last 6 years and was under review again. Until RAVEC gives another verdict, the status quo is unchanged. The baffling thing about both Harry and Meghan is their repeated tendency to make premature announcements before the underlying facts have been nailed down. Indeed, all their troubles of the last 6 years have stemmed from their magical thinking that something they want will become instant reality, starting with Megxit itself. It was their reckless decision in January 2020 to publish on the Sussex Royal website their bombshell announcement that they were exiting the royal family on the dubious proposition of becoming adjunct royals with lucrative side hustles, listing terms which had never been presented or agreed to by the palace, rather like demands for a job they hadn't been offered, which created all the bitter mayhem that followed. And it's interesting, actually, because I'm personally involved in the decision for them to do that, because you'll remember I broke the story of Megxit, and Harry admitted in his autobiography Sparrow, that was something I was always suspicious about at the time, that the only reason they ended up publishing so quickly and calling the late Queen so quickly was because I had the details of the story and they were trying to beat me to it. But he was very intellectually dishonest, actually, because I had received the story on, I think it was Boxing Day, when I was on holiday in New Zealand. I'd be working with his team for a number of days, because when I break a story, you've got to make sure that it's right and that the facts are checked. And obviously, I wasn't in the independent media at that point. I had a boss at the Sun newspaper who was saying to me, well, Dan, you've got to make sure that, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So the point being that he didn't need to rush anything. He could have let the story run. He could have allowed the story to play out, and he didn't need to publish everything so quickly. And I do think one of the reasons why the Sandringham Summit went so badly for Harry was because he rushed that announcement just to try to beat me, revealing the fact that they were moving. Anyway, just thought it was worth noting that. But Tina Brown goes on. What is genuinely sad is Harry's belated discovery that the one thing he does really well is what he was born to do, and rejected. Unlike Meghan, he really doesn't want to be a Hollywood hotshot or an amorphous influencer in designer clothes. As one of his ex-employees told me, he just wants to do public service and be paid for it, which in essence is the definition of a member of the monarchy. I'm told he misses his rugged army and country-based friends who could not be further from Montecito's precious ethos. Harry doesn't understand that the family conflict has turned into something more lethal for him than anger. And this is the key information. This is the key new information from Tina Brown. A Cold War. Except for his father, who would dearly love to reconcile with his younger son, his relatives have moved on. Earlier this month, there was no invite for Harry to the wedding of his cousin, Princess Anne's son, Peter Phillips, who had played such a critical, consoling role for Harry at Balmoral when Diana died. A person close to Harry told me he doesn't just desperately miss his father and understandably wants his children to know him, he also very much misses William, the only other person who knew what it was to be Diana's son. Too late. An old friend of William shared with me that whenever he spent time with him in the years since Megxit, William's sense of betrayal by Harry was a constant theme. But during a recent, long conversation, Harry's name never even came up. And Angela Levin, that is the brutality of it, isn't it? That is the brutality of a Cold War that Harry has to comprehend. These decisions that he made, Angela, that he was warned about for weeks and months in advance, had impact for the rest of his life. Like, William has moved on. He doesn't actually want to play out the constant back and forth in the media. He is exhausted by it. And I actually completely agree with Tina Brown's reporting on this. It is now a Cold War. And in terms of William and Catherine, my understanding, and certainly my hope, Angela, is that there isn't going to be any movement. They're not going to allow themselves to, for example, be emotionally blackmailed in the same way that the father is.
No, of course not. One point for this is that Harry made very vulgar comments about his brother and Catherine, and William was absolutely furious about what he said about her. He's very protective about her. He really loves her, and he's very, very grateful that she's helped him to be a very different person than he would have been if he hadn't met her. I know a lot of people are like that, but for him, it's let him know what a husband is and a father is like, which he didn't really get when he was young. So that's what he would keep him out the way. He has never forgotten him for that. I know that for sure. And he doesn't want it. And the other thing is that he just finds that he has asked if he can look after the children, especially Charlotte and Louis, because they're going to be not in it all, whereas the older one will be the next king or two. And he doesn't want him to look after them. And Harry's kept on saying he wants to do this, so they have to cut it off because they don't want Harry telling them how to look after their children. Thank you very much. So they've got these two reasons why it's absolutely obvious. It's not just he doesn't like him anymore, it's just done a long time ago, all that's past. But actually what you want to do with the wife you love and the children you love, bang, you're out of it.
Indeed. Angela, a couple of other disgusting things that happened this week. Firstly, the Daily Mail, and I think actually their lowest attack on Catherine yet. I know you were completely disgusted by this. Let me just show you. So it was a columnist called Julia Lawrence, but headlined, "Kate has made a rare mistake in how she's handled her cancer diagnosis." They have the platform, they have the following. All they need is the guts to speak out. If only Kate would tell us what type of cancer she has. Now, Goth Loretta said this is a new low for the Daily Mail. You truly put the scum in scum media. Leave her alone, FFS. Are you going to release the medical details of your staff? If not, then shut up. And Angela, I know that you were disgusted by this.
Yes, I was. I thought it was appalling. I'm very pleased you're mentioning it because actually it's been enough for her to have cancer, isn't it? And I thought it was very brave of her to mention that she's had it in the first place. But then when someone actually gets it in writing, for goodness sake, you should have told us exactly what. I don't know anything about mine. You could help me about what I've got. How could you actually not tell us all about it? So I wrote something not very nice at the top on X because I just was astonished how somebody who actually has got problems herself could actually be so vulgar, so rude, and so unfair, and that the paper could actually have that sort of speaking out that she must tell everybody what she's like. You don't expect people to tell you the details of your ailments, even if they're small. But actually, to expect something like that, especially when she's doing so well, also pleased you can climb up mountains and she can look after delightful children. And she looks beautiful and she's very responsible. And then you want to knock it over. There's a lot of people who want to knock her over, and it makes me furious. And I think this one is the worst one. Absolutely, she should apologise, not to her, but she should apologise to everyone who feels that it's so rude to demand something like that to someone who's been very ill.
Yeah, it was really revolting, actually. And unfortunately, it's what the Mail tend to do a lot, Angela. Now,
Well, I worked there for ages. I've never seen it that disgusting. I have
No, I
never
think it's got a
seen
lot
it that
worse. They seem to have a bit of an anti-Catherine and William agenda at the moment,
Yes,
if I'm
yes, that
honest,
is
Angela.
true. That is true. Absolutely true. Why? I've got no idea. I'm furious with it.
And remember, of course, you know, Catherine had her medical records stolen. It's like this. Yeah, she's gone through a huge amount over this. Angela, I also wanted to talk to you about the wonderful moment where Queen Camilla backed J.K. Rowling this week. And you'll know J.K. Rowling has become such a lightning rod, Angela, for the sort of woke leftists who have turned on the Harry Potter creator because of the fact that she just believes in biological sex. And J.K. Rowling has been absolutely uncompromising on this issue. And she lost so much. You know, she lost that sort of toast of Hollywood life that she used to have. Lots of her actors who she made stars, like Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, turned on her. And so this was such a big moment, I think, for Queen Camilla, even though nothing was said about the trans issue in terms of the post. Just having Queen Camilla stand next to her, Angela, I think was such a significant moment. There was a meaning behind it. And the royal family posted when they announced this meeting on X, Angela, with a shared passion for books and a deep commitment to children reading for pleasure, the Queen and author J.K. Rowling have met at the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh. Should just remind everyone that this is the week of the year that King Charles and Queen Camilla spend living in Scotland. They were there to open the Parliament building last Saturday, and they spend the week there. Her Majesty and Ms. Rowling discussed the importance of ensuring that young people have access to books and the vital part reading plays in opening doors for future generations. But Angela, to me, I don't know if you agree, but this meeting means so much more than that. And
Yeah.
I am sometimes very critical of Queen Camilla. You're obviously her biographer, Angela, but I want to just praise Queen Camilla here because she has been brave. She's ignored the woke mob. And I think this now sends a message to the world, Angela, and all of those Hollywood woke-topians. J.K. Rowling is a wonderful person, and her views on biological sex actually make her more of a wonderful person.
Yes, I can say that, but even more, I was the first one who interviewed her. She didn't want to be interviewed, but this was on the second book. I read her book to one of my children.
Wow.
They thought it was wonderful. So I spoke to them at the Mail and I said, can I do her? And they said, who is she? And everything. And I said, she's going to be amazing. Anyway, I won. And I went to see her and I heard all about terrible life that she'd had with a very, very nasty husband who beat her and very unkind. But also she had no money and she would just go into a cafe and just have one cup of tea and work all day long. She couldn't afford more than that to carry on writing. And she said to me that she just actually does write like this. She just can only do it by herself somewhere. And that was really, it was wonderful. But she then decided she didn't want it published, but that was too late. So we had this published, and in the fourth book, she complained about this awful writer who wouldn't let her not write, not talk to her. She made me talk to her. It was all about me, not very nice. But I'll forgive her that because she is a very nice woman underneath. But
Yeah, well, it's interesting. She's had a very up and down relationship, hasn't she, with the media? And I have to be honest, Angela, I don't know her personally, but I never used to be a huge fan. People are going to be horrified. Like, I'm not a big Harry Potter guy. I haven't read the books, seen the movies or anything. And do you remember she used to be quite sort of against my politics, I guess you would say. But my respect for her just grew so much on the issue of protecting biological women. That is an issue that I am so passionate about. Fighting back against the trans madness, fighting back against men and women's sport. And to me, all of the previous, where I've got some background with her too. Like, I'm not going to go into the details for another time, but all of that previous, I didn't care, because she had done the right thing, and it was such a significant right thing that she had done.
Yes, I agree. You 100%. She wasn't very nice. I got lots of things out of her, which I was quite good at, and she didn't really want to do that. But then she was very angry. But actually, now I'm right behind her because she is brave and she will say what she really feels is important. And you can't then actually just care about somebody who's complaining a little bit about the book coming out earlier than she wanted. So I'm right with you.
Angela, so I've been positive about Queen Camilla, but unfortunately, I'm not able to be positive about King Charles this week for one particular reason. And this is the king unveiling this new definition of monarchy, where his role is to protect the multi-faith nation. Now, that is a change, Angela, and that is a change that was sort of slipped out in the annual report, and I don't think has been properly debated. So the king will protect the space for faith within the multi-faith nation in a new definition of his official role, GB News reported. Buckingham Palace unveiled a significant revision to the king's official role with the newly released Sovereign Grant report describing His Majesty as the protector of faith across Britain's diverse religious landscape. The annual financial review of the royal household contains fresh terminology, positioning the monarch as someone who safeguards religion throughout the nation. According to the document, His Majesty is Supreme Governor of the Church of England and protects the space for faith within the multi-faith nation. This reform represents a notable evolution in how the palace formally characterises the sovereign's constitutional and spiritual responsibilities, because in last year's report, they had characterised the king under his head of nation duties as head of the Church of England and defender of the faith. And that title, Angela, dates back to the reign of King Henry VIII, after he was granted the title Defender of the Faith in 1521 by Pope Leo X. Now, there was a lot of outrage about this. The royal grift posting, as an Anglican, this doesn't sit right with me. Christians should not be forced to accept Islamic faith woven into Western society. This is too far. It is incompatible. This multi-faith acceptance messaging will spread to the United States and into my Anglican church, because he is still the head of the Church of England. The only king we should be worshipping is Jesus. Mary Harrington argued if Charles's faith is not Christianity but global racism, he should be disposed. And the GB News host Emma Trimble weighed in, saying this is a bona fide constitutional crisis. Then we heard from Winston Marshall. He's the ex-Mumford & Sons star, now host of a very successful independent news podcast, interview podcast, and he said hard to understate just how radical a departure this is from the 1,100-year tradition of our nation and antithetical to our founding. And the anti-Islam activist Kelly J. Keane, someone who I highly respect, posted, "The king is not defender of all faiths. He is supreme governor of the Church of England and defender of the faith. He does not have the right to quietly rewrite the job description of the Crown to suit modern fashion. This country's institutions should mean something." And indeed, Angela, there are even legally seem to be issues with how this is introduced. The top lawyer, Stephen Barrett, said, you can't change the Constitution by some words in the Sovereign Grant. He is defender of the faith and head of the Church of England. Those are his obligations, his duty. A king who will not do his duty is no king. So, Angela, this story almost seems to have been buried in the mainstream media, which is why I wanted to talk about it with you, because I am hugely, hugely concerned about it, and I don't know what the king is playing at here. Do you?
Well, I disagree completely, maybe because I'm Jewish, but I think that actually I'm pleased he feels warmth towards other people, people who have different religions. I like the fact that he does sort of help Jewish people as well. What I didn't like was the Eid party for when it was just before the what was it? Easter, that's right. And it was for Muslims. And he went out and he spent an awful lot of doing it with Muslims. And you then sort of expected him to do the same for Easter, and he didn't. I thought that was terrible. It was very silly because he should have done it very much for Christians as well. But I think otherwise, I think if we are a country which actually listen to other people's religions and have him there and the head of it, I don't expect him to feel about other people in an extremely important way. That is for his Christian, so he should do Christian ways. But I think it's actually comforting, particularly at a time like this, that somebody who has power and interest, who can say something to you about, I do believe in you, don't feel so sad. So I don't think he's doing something awful. I think actually he's doing something that I feel can help.
Well, Angela Levin, it's great to hear the other side of it. It's great to hear the other side of the argument, because all week I think most guests have sort of been on my side of this. So I'm very, very glad to hear the other side of the argument from you as a Jewish woman. Thank you so much, Angela Levin, who is also our royal mastermind and the biographer, of course, of Prince Harry and Queen Camilla. We will speak next week. Angela, thank you so much for your time today.
Several claims and personal opinions have circulated this week regarding the royal family, ranging from questions about future contact between the Sussex and Wales children to renewed debate over palace security decisions. Setting speculation aside, a handful of reported developments deserve closer, more measured examination. Reports indicate that Prince Harry was again denied official police protection for his family, with a source close to him telling The Guardian that arrangements were withdrawn late in the process. According to those familiar with the matter, this reflects an unchanged position from the security review body known as RAVEC, rather than a new decision. Royal commentators have noted that the Sussexes have, in the past, made public statements before final decisions were confirmed, and that pattern is being cited again here. Separately, journalist and author Tina Brown, previously known for her sympathetic coverage of the couple, has described recent developments surrounding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex as chaotic. According to her reporting, associates of Prince William have suggested that any estrangement between the brothers has settled into what she termed a prolonged Cold War rather than active conflict. Claims have surfaced that Harry was not invited to the wedding of his cousin, Peter Phillips, a family member who reportedly supported him around the time of Princess Diana's funeral. Whether this reflects a deliberate signal or simple logistics has not been independently confirmed. On the question of the younger generation, online commentary has questioned whether Archie and Lilibet might eventually spend time with Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. No official statement has addressed this directly, and any conclusions at this stage remain speculative rather than confirmed royal policy. Elsewhere, the Princess of Wales faced criticism this week after a newspaper column suggested she should disclose further details of her cancer diagnosis. The piece drew significant public backlash, with critics arguing that demanding private medical information from a patient undergoing treatment crosses an ethical line regardless of public profile. Supporters of the criticism maintain that public figures forego certain privacy expectations, though this view was notably a minority one in public reaction. A more symbolic development came from Scotland, where Queen Camilla met with author J.K. Rowling at the Palace of Holyrood House during the royal household's traditional week in residence there. The official palace statement framed the meeting around a shared commitment to children's literacy, making no reference to broader public debates associated with Rowling. Commentators have nonetheless noted the meeting's timing and visibility, though the palace itself has offered no further comment beyond the literacy framing. Finally, attention has turned to King Charles's constitutional role, following language in the newly published Sovereign Grant report describing him as protector of faith within a multi-faith nation, a shift from the previous year's wording centered on defender of the faith and head of the Church of England. Critics argue this represents an unauthorized departure from centuries of constitutional tradition, with one constitutional lawyer noting that such language cannot alter formal duties on its own. Supporters maintain that acknowledging Britain's religious diversity is consistent with the monarch's existing role as head of state for all citizens. Buckingham Palace has not issued a detailed clarification on the phrasing change. Taken together, these developments touch on security protocol, family relationships, media conduct, and constitutional language, each raising separate and unresolved questions. Until further official statements or verified documentation emerge, Much of this will likely remain in the realm of interpretation rather than settled fact. Which of these developments do you think will have the most lasting impact on the royal family's public standing? Let us know in the comments. And if you'd like more measured analysis like this, consider liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you don't miss our next update.